Gee. You wouldn't believe it. I got set up again to show you how my homemade beer filling gun works, and the keg ran out in the first bottle. My keys are in the middle of a build or a rebuild. I'm in a bit of a I'm in a bit of a weird spot. I've got the brewery over at my big front blue shed, and my house is over here about 500 meters away. So I needed to come up with a beer transporting vehicle. Here it is. Quad bike. It's called a Bruin. Bruin. It's ironic, isn't it? They spelt it B-R-U-I-N. But, you know, if I'm brewing, I may well be using the quad bike. Anyway, a couple of kegs. They're empty, unfortunately. But anyway, they tasted delicious. Taking them back over to the brewery. About to put down another brew and have a look at my lager. It's been lagering. Well, that's not true actually. It's been fermenting at 12 degrees for 2 weeks, 3 weeks nearly 3 weeks. I haven't touched it. I've resisted the urge to go and look in there. I've just purposely just left it. But I think today is the day, since I need to fill some kegs, that I'm going to go over there and take a gravity reading. And if it looks like she's finished, because it should have by now. If she's down low, I probably won't even test it again tomorrow. I'll be certain that she's done. It's 10-10 or something like that. Then I'm going to rack it to a keg, and then I'm going to start lagering it. Crank the temperature down. I think the plan is going to be take it to 7 degrees, and then step it down a degree every day till I get down to 1 or 2 degrees. That's going back to a video that I saw from the late Paul Wicksteed. I don't know much about lagering, other than that I used to do it in caves and shit, but I'm doing it in a freezer. So, just worried if I take it down to 1, my freezer will work either half a degree either side, so I might get in a half a degree. That might get too close to freezing. Don't really want to freeze a beer. It's no good. It's hard to get it out after. So thinking 2 degrees, half degree either side, it'll go 1.5 to 2.5 degrees. It's a pretty good cave. Anyway, I'll see you over in the brewery. Right, well, we're about to unveil the lager. My first lager that I've truly brewed at lager temperature at 12 degrees. Because when I did lagers years ago, they were actually with ale yeast. I realise now, you know. You buy a kit in kilo, and it's called a lager, and you ferment it at, 20 degrees plus. It's not really a lager, is it? So this is my first one that I put down, and look, I'll show you the just a shitty old freezer chest freezer that I picked up, $40 I think, and then running at 12.1 degrees. Been down there for about three weeks. There she is. My temperature controllers can heat and cool. So what I found is not so much when I've been down at 12 degrees, but when I'm around the 18 degrees, sometimes the freezers can overshoot a little bit. So I just put a spotty in there, a spotlight, 100-watt spotlight, and if it overshoots by more than half a degree, the spotlight turns on, only for a couple of minutes, not even that, minute maybe, brings the temperature back up and keeps it within half a degree of the set point temperature. So because of that, then I wrap my fermenter in a towel so that when the spotlight turns on, the light is not damaging the yeast. Right, so that's the unveiling. Let's lift her out, and I'll see you when I've got an a final gravity reading, and we'll see whether she's ready to keg or not. So, I've got a hit of, maybe that was the CO2 that just knocked me. There's not much on the top, there's only a few floaties. Might try and show you. Probably looks worse on the camera. It's like just a couple of little yeast balls floating on the top, mostly bubbles, that's all. Yeah, it's gone now. Because it's been sealed up for 3 weeks, there was definitely a level, like a blanket, I guess, of CO2. Nearly knocked myself out, I think, by doing that. Wow, I haven't had that before. All right, let's take a reading. Well, I'm already drinking the hydrometer sample, but I didn't realize it was going to be so high. It came in at 1014, but I just had a look at my Beersmith calculations, and well, you probably won't see it, but I was surprised to see that it was supposed to come in at 1014. That was the estimated final OG. So, given that I was only supposed to ferment this for 2 weeks and I fermented it for 3 weeks, I'm gonna call that. I'm gonna keg it and then lager it. So the flavour, I haven't really told you much about the beer. I've named it my Larrikin Lager, but partial mash, I guess. So I'm just sort of still transitioning to full mash, just a full grain, sorry. And when I'm trialing out new things, it's just a bit, maybe not even cheaper to be honest, but it's just a bit easier at the moment. I haven't got a grain mill, so I'm having to buy the bags of grain, and my local home brew shop's pretty crappy for grain, so I have to think about it and order it online and what have you. And because I haven't got a grain mill, I haven't been buying 25 kilo bags of grain and blah blah blah. So anyway, this was a Cooper's kit. I used and it was a recipe that I looked on the Cooper's website. They've actually got some pretty cool recipes if you're into sort of in between just doing straight kit and kilo and full grain, and you like to do some partial mash, I guess, you know, so use a kit and then upsize it, upskill it. I don't know what you want to call that, but I'm making some pretty good beers with that actually. And Cooper's have got some cool recipes on there that give you some ideas about what to do. So this was one of them, and they suggested using a Cooper's draft can. I then added some crystal malt 30 and some wheat malt, which I'd never used before. I bought some wheat malt for another all grain beer that I was using. So I chucked in 200 grams of wheat malt, 200 grams of crystal malt 30. Didn't use the Cooper's yeast. I used Sapphire, what was that, 3470, I think it's a dry yeast, 3470, hang on, yeah, W3470, which is a special lagering yeast, because the Cooper's yeast is definitely an ale yeast. It's not, it even says on that can is to ferment it at around 20 degrees or something. So this was, I think it went from 11 to 18 or something like that. So I fermented it at 12, as you saw on that. It's been pretty steady. We've been within half a degree of 12 degrees Celsius for the last 3 weeks. So without lagering, well, she's not real clear yet, but it's just And I didn't hop it much at all. I specifically didn't want to hop it much at all. I just gave it, there was just one hop addition. I used Pride of Ringwood, which is a classic hop that's used in many Aussie beers over here. You know, so I thought I would just try and see if I could make a beer that was a bit like, it's kind of funny when you're making home brew, you usually want to make beers that don't taste like the commercial brewery sort of crap, but since I was making a lager, I was like, well, I wonder how these guys make it, and can I make something that's a bit like that? So, use Pride of Ringwood, and it's not a bad beer. It's just a quaffer. You wouldn't say this is anything special, but it's not bad, that's for sure. Which is kind of what I was after. I just wanted to see if I could come up with a beer that I can, I need a few staples, you know. So, like I think I'm there with the Pilsner that I like. I've got a great Pilsner that I like that I can definitely drink, and my mates will want to drink that all day. I've got sort of a go-to pale ale. I've got a couple of IPAs that I'm playing with. I don't know if I'm really there with the one that I love yet, but they're definitely ones that I don't mind sharing. And I thought, well, I'll try the lager. Got a bit of work to do on my dark beers. I've brewed a few, and they're drinkable. They're not bad, but I haven't nailed that recipe yet that I want. So, but for a first crack at a real lager, yeah, not bad. I'm curious to see now when I lager this. I guess I'll lager it, probably should really be lagered for a couple of weeks. See how it goes with my beer supplies. I went from having everything full to then suddenly, a couple of kegs gone. It's a bit of a thirsty weekend, friends and family and everyone over. So now I'm like, shit, I'm catching up. I've got a few kegs to fill, so hopefully she can lager for 2 weeks. We'll see. Yeah, I can see that Pride of Ringwood. It's not a bad. It's a nice bittering, really nice bittering actually. What did I put in there? It wasn't much. 30 grams of Pride of Ringwood at 60 minutes. Not a bad hop just for a bittering addition. If you just want a beer that's got a just a nice lingering bitter, but it's nothing like an IPA or anything like that. You know, you've got friends that just want a beer, normal sort of beer. I reckon this is a step up from our bog standard, you know, I don't know, 4X, 2Es Australian beers. If you know Australian beers, it's better than VB, at least on the first tasting. Anyway, a bit more malty. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to keg this, stick it back in the freezer, crank the temperature down 7 degrees, and then I'm going to start brewing. Cheers.